Hi, welcome back to the channel, and the title of this video is about how to get into or maintain a habit for practicing the guitar. The question is there a way to make it to where it's so ingrained to practice that you just show up every day without you having to think about it, or you just feel off if you don't do it? I think the answer is yes. So my background here, I've said this before, but I like working out. I actually have had a lot of interests over the years. The two I'm working on now are working out and music. So I like working out more. So what I do is I work out in the morning, and that would mean, well, I'm just going to play music at night, right? Let's go back a few years when I was working on my other channel. It's actually linked in my channel if you want to check it out. It's called Grimm's VGM, whatever. So I just thought, well, I'm just going to work on music at night. Not so easy. For anybody, when you get to nighttime, you're going to be tired. Okay. I don't care how much free time you have. At that point, we had our first child, and I still actually had video games lurking around in my life, and that means one game, which was Dota 2, and so most nights, if I was tired, I would just think, well, I'm just gonna play games. Why would I work on music when I can just play this? So what did I try? I was like, okay, I learned about habit formation, and I discovered that if you have a reward at the end of what you want to do, you will want to do the thing so you can get the reward. So I put Dota at the end of working on music, and that worked. There's a problem with Dota. If you win, you want to redeem yourself. If you say you're going to play one game or two games, if you lose both, you want to redeem yourself. I said it backwards. If you win, you want to win again. If you lose, you want to redeem yourself. So good luck having like two losses, and that's your reward for the night. So it just made you want to play more. Plus, I was staying up later than I should have. That was not a good combination. But I was shown how to play music. So what I was doing right were a few things. So I talked about habit building, and I was giving myself a reward, regardless of how do I want to say this, destructive it was for my sleep. The other was that I just gave myself a small time frame. Actually, James Clear in the book Atomic Habits, he says use the 2-minute rule, which means whatever you want to do, depending on the level you're in, give yourself, say you're going to just do it for 2 minutes. You remove the friction that your brain could have, and you can actually scale it back further. And what I would do is say, okay, I'm not going to say work on music for 2 minutes, because that still requires setting the at the time, it was harder setting the equipment up. I had to get my guitars out of the closet, guitar and bass. Had to open up the program. Had to open up the file, get my tones set up. So at first I said, okay, we'll just set up for 2 minutes. And then once you get set up, you're there. You're like, okay, well, I might as well start. And then I think eventually it turned into not just setting up, but work on it, take your time to set up, and then 2 minutes of work. So that worked. So I had the reward. I was starting smaller, and along the same lines of starting small, I was making it easy for myself. So that actually ties into where I am now, where I do classical guitar. I don't have it in the background, it's over there, but I love the music I was making. However, there was a completely other avenue of music with classical guitar, and I liked both. And I thought, why not? I'm going to split them up. Or actually, I dropped one and I went to the other. Because, it sounds so good. And I had other YouTubers I would see as inspiration. And as far as the setup, it's so easy. I could practice electric guitar without plugging it in, but then when it's time to record, I have to set everything up. And I'm not great with the technology aspect. I don't know about tones and all that stuff, but when you have the classical, it's like what you're playing is what you're going to be ending up doing when you record, right? All you got to do is get a microphone and point yourself at it. You're doing the same thing. And you can walk around, take it everywhere if you wanted to, and more people can hear it. So we are talking about building the habit here. So let's just take the absolute worst case scenario, and you are someone that, I don't know how much free time you have, okay? If you have more free time, use it. But let's say you're like an adult with responsibilities, and you're like, well, I'm going to work on music, but it's nighttime, and you're not doing it. You are out of the habit of doing the actions for the music, right? Because going and relaxing for the night is a habit. Anything you do is a habit. And your body's just going to want to, your brain is going to want to keep doing a thing because it is efficient, and it will just make that so easy to fall into that, and it just wants to be left alone and relax. I have a huge thing you can do if you are able to. Now, I work out in the morning, but I've said this before. If you have the time, and if this is your main thing, just wake up in the morning, and that morning time is your practice time. You've slept, you haven't eaten, so you don't have any brain fog. I'm not going to go into eating or what to eat, but we all know if you had a huge Thanksgiving dinner, you're not going to want to work on anything, right? That's a small example. So either eat nothing or eat light. Wake up in the morning and work on it. So that's kind of a step 0, because as a step 1, what you want to do is schedule it. As I just said, I'm a fan of having it early in the day. James Clear talks about having a cue, and a cue means you were going to do one thing before anyway, and you have to remind yourself, okay, after I eat dinner or take a shower for the night, I'm going to go play guitar. And he says to write that out. I would say just schedule it, okay? And so, that's why if you were to have guitar lessons at 4:00 on Saturdays, once you do that a few times, your brain's going to remember, okay, Saturday's coming, I have this thing, and it's going to expect it. Now you can amp that up by doing it every day by yourself, for yourself, on your own. Let's say you get out of work and you're like, okay, I'm going to come home and start practicing at 6, and then you can have dinner or something like that. So that's like a cue, and it's scheduled. Same thing. Step 2 is making it obvious. When I read, I guess listened, or whatever. When I read the book, I was like, what does that mean? Because it's obvious that you want to practice guitar, or get into, or be consistent with the guitar. It means being able to observe. It's in the word, obvious. Being able to observe your thing. So, now that I think about it, it's probably what made it hard for when I was playing electric guitar, because due to space, I don't have a space that's my own. So all my guitars are in a closet, except my classical now. But when I would want to work on electric music, I had to get it out of, it's like on little hangers. I had to get it out of the closet. And that's just one little level of friction. When you don't feel like, when you're out of the habit of doing something already and you don't feel like doing it, your brain's going to be like, but it's all the way across the house in a closet. I have to pull it out. I have to get the cords, because I don't have them laying out. I'm in like this little common area. Again, this is my scenario, but worst case scenario, you want to reduce as much friction as possible. So obvious means put the thing that you want to do where you can observe it easily. I'm actually not doing this right now because my guitar is just out of reach. It's probably 6 feet away, but still. It's something to where you want it as close as possible. Well, first of all, out in the open, but also make it easier to get to. I should have it right next to me because when I'm arranging or practicing and I have the music up here, I need to be in my desk. So why would I make it any harder by this is a great example, having it so far away, so far there. The other option is there's a lamp over here. I know you can't see, but over here next to the couch. It looks nice there, but it's not practical for practice, right? I could just sit here, arm's reach. I would have it here if it wasn't for this thing. But, and then I'm ready to go. So have it out in the open to where makes it easier to start. Again, if it's in the closet, if it's in a case in a closet, that's the ultimate. There is something to be said for removing negative, bad habits, like I'm using my phone to record, but keeping your phone in a drawer in your bedroom while you're practicing. This is the opposite. Put what you want to do closer to you. All right. And step 3 is to make it easy and start small. And I hinted at this before. Acoustic guitars make it easy. You can apply this to anything. If you are not doing the thing in music that you want to be doing frequently enough, you have to allow yourself the whole 2-minute rule thing. Okay. You start with, okay, I'm going to practice getting set up every day for 2 minutes. Right. And of course, if that is your goal, most of the days you're going to be like, I just spent all this time setting up. I'm just going to start. But again, the setup is usually the friction of overcoming the day where you're like, I don't feel like working on this. And you tell your brain, well, just set up for 2 minutes. Like, okay, I'll start. So it's like you could start by setting up. Then and seriously, just work on setting up. That's all you got to do for the day. And then go take a break. Next step is, okay, you're used to setting up. Now I'm going to actually work on my music for 2 minutes. And keep stacking those wins. If that's too much, do 30 seconds. If that seems easy, do 5 or 10 minutes. And don't... I don't know what the general consensus is out in the world or on the internet. Don't have any specific amount of time in mind. I know the more you do, the better you could get. I don't know how much free time you have. Like some people have hours at the end of the night. You might work at home and you just have yourself. So you have from 5 until bedtime. That'd be ideal, but don't pick some number like 2 or 4 hours or even 1 hour. Okay. If 1 hour is your goal and you miss by 10 minutes, if you get 50 minutes, are you going to beat yourself up? And if you are, come on, you're a human, you're not a robot. That's why I like this next point where you give yourself a range of time. I don't use this myself anymore, but you could start with like the 2 minutes and going back to the Pomodoro idea, say, okay, if I can get over the 2 minute hump, great, but I'm going to cut it off at 30 minutes, go take a break or whatever. You can come back and repeat the same thing. That means even on your worst days, and I actually have a sand timer here. We got these for our kids, but that's a 30-minute one. And as a side note, the good thing about these is that you don't have a time to look at to know how much time is left. It's kind of sinister, but you just know that there's time left and you just go. But again, 2 minute, you get over the hump. Okay, I'm going to keep going. That's why I like using if you don't have a sand timer, a stopwatch, not a timer, so that it doesn't take you out of the flow state if you start getting into it, right? If you have 2 to 10, I don't think that's enough, because you'll get to that 10-minute mark and that's not enough time to like get into it, get your brain going. All right, so give yourself a range, and that way you have that wiggle room to make it a little bit easier. I am always a fan of a time range, okay? Because we're building a new habit, all right? And it's not like, get your health in order because your doctor told you to. This is music. Nothing's going to happen to you if you don't practice for the day. It depends on the goals you have. Like if this is tied to, like, I don't know, you're making money streaming or something, that's one thing. But for most people, it's just at the hobby level. So you don't want to take someone and say, you need to get in shape. Let's start running 5 miles a day or 4 days a week or whatever. No, you wouldn't do that. You'd say, do you start laying out your workout clothes? Do you have workout clothes? All right. Get a few pairs, because you're going to be working out more than once a week. And then you might need shoes. Okay, you got all that. Where is it? You got to put it out, and you have to put it out somewhere you can see it. If you're going to work out in the morning, you don't want to wake up in the morning and think, where's all my stuff? I don't know. Practice the little steps before you can move up. All right, the next part is tracking. And I think, obviously, if you can do this every day, that's great. I don't think most people could, or that's necessary. There is a whole, and I know we're talking about habits, but there's a whole question about how long does it take to make a habit. I'm going to get that out of the way and say, I don't know. Okay? It's a habit when you go to pick it up and you have a thought in your head like, what am I doing? That's when it's a habit, when it's so ingrained that you question why you're doing it, but you signed up for it. I guess that's a negative side. You could always you can think like all your bad habits. You also ask, why am I doing this? But this is a good habit, I would hope. All right. So with tracking, it's just a nice little mental win. When I was doing this, so I've left the electric guitar world behind, but when I was doing this for classical guitar, I didn't worry about even printing a calendar. I just drew on a piece of paper, I drew a grid, which became a calendar. I wrote the days of the month, and my goal was to hit my little 2 minutes or however much time I told myself. And then it was not on my desk. So once I got done, I checked it off. And then as you go along, it feels good. You're like, look at me, I'm like putting in the work. I do like the idea of the average for the month, along the same lines of like how many days it takes to make a habit. If I said 90 and you made it to 89 and you missed, nothing is going to happen to you. And again, we're all human. So if you carry the monthly average along with you, it helps accountability. What I mean is you make your little calendar, and for that month, you want to try to hit at least 90% of the time per day. And, for most months, that is 30 days, right? Average. So that means you have the wiggle room to miss 3 days, right? That could be like, I don't know, most Saturdays, you would give yourself time to relax. Now, if you've made it so easy, you're kind of like, why would I skip if all I have to do is 2 minutes? But again, if you want to see yourself and know that you're putting the reps in, have that little accountability tracker for yourself. Okay, you can like put a little title on there, get some crayons or markers and make it fancy. Say, this is January. This is how much I've done. It's actually a good idea. But I like it on paper. I haven't brought this up, but habit trackers on your phone. Along the same lines of making it obvious, I have done a lot of things as far as like note taking or second brain on my phone. When it's in an app, I can't see it. It's so easy, especially if you download a new app and you know how it goes to the last page, or if it's like tucked in like a group of apps and you have to go in and you have to find it on the app. Just put it on paper, okay? There are habit trackers where you have multiple habits, where you like write the habits at the top and the little checkbox is going down. This is a one thing habit tracker, which is a calendar. So if you just made something small and stuck it on or even left it on your desk, you get to see it and you can't avoid it. So it's like you have your guitar out where you can see it. You have your tracking where you can see it. No excuses. All right, so we have tracking. The last step is to reward yourself. So I talked about my little attempt with Dota, or not even attempt. I was doing it. I wrote to have a wholesome reward, because the only reason you do things that you look forward to is because you're expecting something out of it. Okay. You go to ice cream places because you know that it's going to taste good, right? You go to, I don't know, I'm just going to use that example. That's enough. But once you get that, your body is going to very vividly remember the steps you took to get there, because the excitement, the dopamine, the reward was so high that you're like, well, remember what I just did, because I want to do that again. So you can have a reward that is very exciting, right? Take entertainment that you really like. Just, let's put this together. You practice for like 30 minutes and then you can go do that thing. So make it like what will make this better is what's called a primal reward. Stuff like that was linked to our survival many years ago, like eating or socialization. I guess entertainment. I don't know why entertainment's such a big thing now, because they didn't have that back then, but it feels good, whatever. Now I say wholesome because you have to figure this out for yourself. All right. Don't practice for 2 minutes at 8 a.m. and say, nice, I checked. I mean, you can do this, but I don't recommend this. Don't practice for 2 minutes at 8 a.m. and then spend the rest of the day playing video games, or stand up late, like 2 minutes a night. I'm going to play until 3 a.m. Then you're a zombie for the next day. Don't do that. Okay. Be smart, cut it off. Or have better stuff. I said this before, but at the time I was like, what can I reward my brain with? And I would get like fruit, like a few grapes, a handful of grapes. And that sounds lame, but it got the job done. And if you have entertainment, just say like 1 or 2 episodes of something, 1 or 2 matches, or an hour of a longer game if you're doing that. And I can't tell you what to pick, but be smart, okay? Be responsible. And this actually segues into, I want to talk about this later, but there's a harder level, and that is just removing the reward. I know I said that this whole habit building thing, you in the day you want to treat yourself like a puppy, where it's like you do something good, you give yourself a reward, right? That keeps you showing up to do, I do X, then I do Y. I haven't listened to this, but there's some Andrew Huberman, I think he's talked about if you remove the reward, the work itself feels better. And you just, you're not just going through the motions to get the work out of the way so then you can get your Snickers bar, right? Because then all you're thinking about is the Snickers bar the whole time you're practicing. The whole habit thing, I did this for myself, and it was kind of like a training wheels type thing. Now, I'm not like crushing it with subs or anything, but now I'm at this point where I just like doing the process, and I just know that the views and the subs, they're nice, but there's this thing about like doing the work. And if you haven't watched it yet, I just finished the Hulk song, but that song was rough. As challenging, as strong as the Hulk is, but I went to record the song and I got it in one take. And it took me, the last song I did was in December, and it took me until a couple days ago to get the Hulk song out. And that includes learning, arranging, practicing, and then actually sitting down to record was like nothing, because I got it in one take. That feels good, okay, to actually have it and do it. It does not feel as good as getting a 5-man Echo Slam with Earthshaker in Dota 2. That's really, all my Dota 2 fans, you know what I'm talking about. But it's just not a fair comparison, all right? These games are designed to have this high stimulating, you got your bros together, you got this tribal brotherhood fighting against the enemy, and you're winning. That's not as fun, or that is much more fun than listening to this song from 2008 from a comic book movie and finding the notes for it. So what I've done is just I don't play games as much as I used to, but that makes it to where the music work is fun. You know, it's all relative. Okay, so that is like a final level. I will talk about that later, but if you need all the steps I talked about, I'm not going to throw all the habit building stuff. If you need all that, please do it, okay? Because that gets you into the habit of showing up. After that, if you want more brain points into music creation, and then take it up a level in detox, and I'll talk about that later. But anyways, that's it. That's building the habit. I want to put that out there because I fell off my electronic, I keep saying electronic channel, my metal channel, back when I had more free time, because I just didn't have all these in place, and I just would keep putting off songs, and I had an idea, I wouldn't do it. And I have made it easier, in quotes, on myself with the classical guitar, but if I had been doing this before, I would have been much more consistent. But that's it. You live and learn, and now I want to teach you. So if anybody's out there that is a musician, use this stuff, and you're just showing up every day. Okay, all we're doing is sitting down and playing music, which is a very wholesome thing, and I want that gift that I have, that I'm sharing with other people. I want other people to be able to share that gift with other people. That was a lot. All right. But thanks for watching. Take care. Subscribe, all that good stuff. Bye. Bye, for real.